started. This is Brian. He's
Hi.
our town IT director. He handles all of our technology needs.
Plus it's while I'm normally involved.
Yes.
So.
And he just finished. They just redid the town website and our website, so he's coming off a big project. But he's going to talk a little bit about the scary
Thank
parts
you.
of technology. And
Yep. Yeah, we'll talk about cybersecurity today. So I've been hearing you guys chat about a lot of these things. Today's topic is cybersecurity. I gave you that handout there, but basically, cybersecurity is the practice of protecting against the criminal or unauthorized access to any infrastructure, be it networks, emails, or data in general. There is a lot of bad actors out there that are trying to get information anywhere they can, and they like to prey on everybody. It doesn't matter your age or your location or where you work. Their job for them is getting data wherever they can get it. So cybersecurity is really important for everybody. It's not just for businesses. It's not just for corporations. It's for all of us as well. You want to make sure in your digital life you can protect as much as possible. And nowadays, as we were just talking about, the digital stuff is everywhere. It's your phones, it's your bank accounts, it's you go shopping, your receipts, they're emailing them to you. Everything's email, everything's digital. So you want to protect all that is a lot of work. So the way a lot of companies attack it is there's kind of three guiding principles that they use, which first of all is the confidentiality. So that's protecting your data, keeping it secret, having your passwords, keeping them secret. The next part is like the integrity. So if I can keep my data safe, you know the stuff coming from me is stuff you're expecting, right? It's not from Joe in somebody's basement trying to pull your data. If you're going to our website, goffstownnh.gov, you see it has the .gov on it. That has integrity behind it because you know the .gov is a government site. The last piece is the availability piece, which once those first two items, confidentiality and integrity, are established, you then have that availability reach. None of that first stuff matters if you can't get to it, right? So if the power's out or the internet's down or there's some natural disaster and you can't get to any of those things, none of this stuff matters. So that's where a lot of your infrastructure is built out wirelessly now. So even if the power's down, your phone is still working, you can still get information there.
You can. I couldn't when we had power outage.
On your cell phone,
Yeah, on the cell phone.
you should be able to, unless the towers go down. So it depends on how broad the power outage is, right? So if the towers go down that your cell phone feeds off of, then yeah,
Okay.
you won't be able to get
Maybe
stuff.
that's it, yeah.
But or if you're connected to your wireless at home or some other things like that, you may not be able to get that data.
Okay, it was at home, it was on my home. Now I put in the generator.
Yep. So even
That
if
automatically clicks in.
if a generator kicks in,
Yeah,
your house has power, but that doesn't mean that your internet box has power or where your internet is served from has power. There's a lot of depending on what your internet provider is, they may have so Infinity. A lot of their stuff is
Verizon.
either way. A lot of those places have substations in other locations that if they're out of power or if the power's out because a wire came down,
Yeah.
it's a possibility that Comcast wire came down too and has a break or
Well,
something
I've had
else.
battles with Comcast, yes.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different things that play into that availability piece.
Yeah.
It's like,
And
one thing
hopefully-
I must say is, Eversource now has their own app where they notify you
Yep.
how long your power outage is going to be.
Yes,
or
they
approximately.
Had an ad on TV that if the power went out, they had 4 hours of backup.
Yep.
You'd
Then
still
it
be
could
on.
be. It depends what they have at their facilities, and that might be their main facility has that, but their little node over here doesn't. It's all how they're building out their infrastructure, which is built into their costs. But so that kind of goes into some key terms that we need to know. So Network. Network is anything that your data is traveling across. It can be your home network, it can be Comcast network, it can be the network above Comcast where everything travels throughout the world, right? So we can't communicate to other locations around the country if stuff is severed in certain spots. So that's our network. Each device on a network has an IP address. So even if you're on Verizon network, your phone will get an IP address. Your home computer has an IP address. That's how everything communicates across the web. So if your phone or device can't get that IP address, it's not going to communicate to anything. So in your instance where you weren't able to connect to the internet, maybe their servers were down and you weren't getting the IP address that you needed, so you couldn't get out. Along with IP addresses, the next piece is DNS. So, DNS is domain name systems, and what that is like I was talking about earlier, goffstown.nh.gov. That's a domain, but that domain address is tied to an IP. So everything goes back to IPs. The domains make it easier for us to remember where we need to go. So if you need to go to youtube.com, you're not remembering that it's whatever IP address, you're remembering it's youtube.com. So that translates to that. Other things that we're going to talk about today are hackers or bad actors. Typically black hat hackers, there's a difference. There's white hat and black hat. Black hat are the bad guys. White hat are the good guys. And bad actors are bad actors. They're the ones that are trying to steal your data.
How can you tell?
Normally the white hats are working with an organization to preempt any attacks. So their job is to find the loopholes before the bad guys.
One time I got an email from Best Buy and I had been hacked twice. So I didn't want to open it. I went to Best Buy and they told me that was a scam. How can I tell by just,
Ooh, we're going to get into that, but it's tough. It's tough with emails, and we'll get into that in a couple seconds here, actually. One other thing I want to talk about is authentication, which is how you log into a website, like a Best Buy, like your email. That's going to be username and password typically. That's the process of authenticating with that service. And the last piece that I'll kind of cover is breach. A breach is something that happens when a hacker or a bad actor gets into some corporation system, gets in there, grabs a bunch of data, and then they pull it out. Unfortunately, that happens more often than any of us know. Obviously, some of the bigger ones get published, but not all of them.
Yeah, I got my accountant. If anybody uses Moraine and stuff, in Penadville, they were hacked. Okay, and we got the warnings, and we got some company they hired some company for a year to protect us.
Yeah, there's various companies out there that will do identity protection and that after a breach.
Yeah.
So now that we've kind of covered some of those, we're going into some of the types of cyber threats that are out there in the world. One that you guys are probably familiar with is malware, which is bad software. That's not as common anymore, but it's still out there where you'll go to a site, you'll click on a link, it'll download something to your computer, and then it's in your system. It's basically malicious software that's designed to pull your data. Now it may log your keystrokes, it may just lock the data on your system, and there's different variations of that spyware, malware. The goal of that is just to get into your system, take the data out, lock you out of your system, basically disrupts your life because it's locking down all that stuff.
Okay, if you get something that says your computer is locked, do not turn it off and all that stuff, I didn't do any of that. Called my son, he says, Mom, it's a scam. Just turn it off and wait. And then, because it wouldn't, no matter what I did, it wouldn't do anything.
So there's some truth to that. What it sounds like happened in your case is you went to a website and a page popped up and filled your whole screen.
Yeah.
That's more scareware because it hasn't really done anything yet.
Until
if
I
you were to
contact
click
them.
on Exactly, and that kind of goes into something we'll talk about called social engineering. So they're popping that up, you're calling them, and then you're going to be talking to a guy, and he's going to start kind of massaging the information to get you to either pay them, grant you access to the system through another website, or steal some other sort of data like credit cards or other information.
Yeah, I got a call yesterday. He wanted a new program for new cards being issued by Medicare. And
Yep.
he wanted my current Medicare number.
Sure.
Isn't there a 3-key thing to get out of that, to control Windows?
There's a couple different keys you can hit. Alt F4 will close any window that you're in.
Alt F.
Alt, A-L-T, it's the button bottom
Yeah.
left next to the space bar, and then F4, which is across the top. That should close any window. Sometimes escape will work. Depends.
I'm sorry, F what?
F4, it's
Okay.
top of the keyboard
Top of the keyboard.
Or escape.
on a computer.
Alt
Yeah.
F4.
Okay.
So
Malware.
going back to malware, that's bad stuff. We don't want it. Don't download things that you shouldn't be downloading. The other piece, which you guys have alluded to already, is phishing. Anyone that has an email has received a phishing email, unless you just created it yesterday and haven't submitted it anyway. It's getting worse as time goes on because your email is out to more and more people. You've used it at more and more sites. Those sites have either been breached or someone's leaked data or whatever else, or you've put an email into a site that's questionable. It happens. Everybody does it. We have people in town that have got caught by phishing emails as well.
Is it a good thing to have two email, one for whatever and one for good?
Yes and no. I have probably
No, I don't
half
want
a dozen emails for different things. I have a work email, I have a personal email, I have email for, I coach sports, I use that for all my coaching stuff, so that it's just limited to that stuff. Now, do you need all that? No. The newer emails are giving you the ability to tag emails, which allows you to say, like, if email comes from this sender, put it into this folder and that kind of stuff. So it's getting a little more
organized.
organized for you. There's some process to getting it there. But with the phishing emails, it's really tricky, right? Back 5-6 years ago even, you're getting emails from princes and kings and queens that want to give you tons of gold and money and all that stuff. Well, those are still out there, but they're now getting really sophisticated because what they're doing is they're copying your Citizens Bank email and making you think it's that, copying Microsoft emails, making you think it's that. So now it's really tricky to kind of identify what emails are good, which ones are bad. So one trick there is before you click on anything, kind of sit down and say, am I expecting this email? Is this email making it sound like I need to do something now? Because typically those organizations aren't going to say like, hey, you need to click on this link now or we're wiping your account out. Really, that's not the way the banks work, right? They'll send you an email, maybe they'll send you a notice in the mail, maybe they'll try to call you. There's other stuff that they'll do.
And then when they do call you, they're verifying your date of birth, your social security, and you got to know who that you're actually talking to. Citizens Bank or a bank, whatever. Or
I always
you
ask
want to
them
give
to
out
call
that
them back.
information?
That's a good way to do it. But with those emails too, what you can do is if you have your browser open like you talked about, it's a little harder on a phone. But if you hover over the link with the cursor, normally it'll pop up and it'll show you across the bottom like where it's sending you. So if you look at to where it's sending you and it's some weird website, it's probably not a good email.
So by clicking on the thing that says
Hovering.
header,
Yep, header, that
it
helps
will
too.
give you where it's coming from. But I can't
Well, that's
tell
who
if
it's-
that's a good
And that's, and
thing or
with,
not.
there's so many, we could talk fishing all day because there's so many different aspects of it. But with going over that header, you're right. It may say it's from Caroline from the library. It may say Caroline Library. But then you look at the email and it may be like joey@yahoo.com.
Or a whole bunch
Or
of numbers.
A whole bunch of numbers. So that's one way they can spoof it, is by spoofing just the name, and then it's just another email. So yeah, it's very difficult unless you know what you're looking for. I helped Patty downstairs last week look at one. It looks real until you hover over one of the links in there, and it's sending you to who knows where. And it's like, I wouldn't click on it. I don't trust it. So to your point about taking the phone calls or whatever else, if you're not expecting an email, don't click on anything in it. That's the safest way to go. If it is from your bank, you can call them directly by the number you know, not the number that's in the email, right? Because that number in that email may be a fictitious email to a bad actor that's going to try to solicit you for information about yourself so that they can create their own accounts or do whatever malicious activity they want to do with it. And then that kind of brings us into the social engineering piece. That's where you receive phone calls or you might get text messages. They're trying to reach out to you because they see stuff on social media or they pulled your data from here or there. And then now they can kind of create a rapport with you when they call up and be like, hey, saw that you joined this committee and was wondering, we're trying to set this stuff up and we need this information from you. That's where they're starting to try to pull more information from you so that they can maybe see what other accounts you're at and they're anywhere else that you might be.
I signed up for Geek Squad.
Yeah.
It cost
Yeah.
quite a bit of money.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and so I called them up about something, I've forgotten what it was. Okay, the first one is Juan from Panama. Okay, and it was a lousy answer, it didn't work. Okay, so I call again, and Vanetta or something like that from Pakistan. Okay, and then she didn't know much. Okay, and then the last one called was Abdul, but I didn't ask where he was from. But he knew how to fix my problem. He walked me through it.
Well,
Or when
they
you
have-
call Best Buy for the geek,
Yes.
A lot of them
Just
have call
understand what
centers
they're
that
saying.
are anywhere in the world. 'Cause
Yeah, they have
it's-
foreigners working
Yeah,
for every
it's
company
so
in
hard
the
to
world now that you
understand.
can
Right,
Yeah.
not always
but,
understand what they're saying to you.
Exactly.
but
Yeah.
I want the information. I want to know what was what I was looking for, or how do I get it? Yeah, what was screwing up my printer? That was the issue. How do I know that Abdul knew his stuff, or the other two didn't?
Yeah, I don't know.
good luck.
That's a tough one.
That's-
But
I don't
Yeah.
trust anybody,
that's-
I just drive there.
I mean,
Well,
if you
I trust. Do we trust Geek
if
Squad?
you're and that's what I was gonna say. If you're making the call to Best Buy, you're
Yeah.
using their number, calling their service.
Yeah.
You're getting people that are employed by them, so they have a This goes back to the integrity piece, right? Like they have a duty to make sure that the number you're calling is protected, the people that are working for you or for them are protected, and then the work that they're doing for you is legit work. Because
That
if
would be
it's
like
not,
Comcast,
then they start to lose that integrity.
that would be
piece.
like a Comcast or a doctor's.
Any of those companies. If you're calling Comcast, if you're calling Citizens, if you're calling Best Buy, you're calling those people. They're not calling you. Now, if Abdul calls you out of the blue saying, hey, so I see there's a virus on your computer, I'd like to get in and fix it for you, that's where you might want to start raising some red flags because, one, have you been using your computer? Is your computer even on? How does he know you have a computer? Because that's another scam out there. They'll call and say they're from Microsoft and they got this alert. Microsoft's not going to call you. No offense, they don't care about your antivirus. They got a bunch of other stuff going on that they're not going to start calling individual people saying like, hey, you got a virus, let me fix it for you.
If your
That's-
computer is off, can they still get into it?
If your computer's powered off, no.
Okay.
Yeah, but what can happen? Like my income tax people got.
But their computer must be on all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Well, they probably have servers and stuff that are on all the time. They probably
Yeah.
store stuff in the cloud, and we'll get into some password stuff in a little bit. But that's where some other securities come into play. We've talked about kind of different devices: phones, desktops, tablets, laptops. One of the most important things with cybersecurity too is a lot of these bad actors out there are looking at vulnerabilities in these devices for ways through to get to your data. So you'll see a lot of times, and it's obnoxious, I'll say it as well, you'll get update for the phone, you'll get Windows updates, you'll get security updates, everything's updated all all the time. Well, the reason why they're doing that now is so that they can secure it. They found a loop, somebody found a loophole or some kind of security breach, and they're trying to patch that so that their system is secure. And unfortunately, as we talked earlier, technology is changing so fast that they used to do it on like a regular once a month cycle. Well, everyone knew that they're on a once-a-month cycle, so they would hammer it right after that day that update came out until the next update and try to figure out what they can do, what they can break. So that's why it's very important to keep your devices up to date.
If you get a thing that says it's been updated, download this or whatever, then do you trust that? Or
Yeah.
because my
it's-
phone, I don't think I've updated it since I've gotten it 2 years ago because
Your
I
phone,
don't
if it's in your-
trust it.
Yeah, if
I
there's
don't trust it.
at some point if it's from Verizon, and normally you can tell pretty easily it's from Verizon, or whenever
Well,
the carriers are,
T-Mobile.
T-Mobile, yeah, I mean, it should pop up saying this, have the T-Mobile logo, we're updated for security enhancements. It should tell you like, this is the sheet on what we're updating. And you could always go and look and see what they're updating, but they're typically updating for security reasons. Now, do some of the updates slow stuff down and everything else? Eventually, yeah, because you're stacking update upon update upon update upon update. It's turns into a pile of matchsticks, right? So
I heard that Apple had some sort of security that you shouldn't get any spam on an Apple product, that's what they say.
Don't get
spam,
viruses.
viruses, maybe they have most operating systems. And we can talk about this. Windows, Apple, Chrome, they have built-in antivirus. Antivirus is good, it's still there. That's what's going to stop your malware and your spyware, that kind of stuff. And with the way the technologies are going, it's getting better and better. So that, yeah, I mean, they're not lying. They have stuff in there that'll stop that, but it's not
not
gonna,
the
it's
best.
not it's not going to stop spam in your email. I mean, email's email. That's they might have a as more and more email traverses the internet, like they may have technology in place that's saying, okay, we've seen a lot of these go out to all these mailboxes, that's spam. You're not going to see it. Because it has different AI. It started to use artificial intelligence to scan the emails quickly and go, no, this is junk. Or it's looking for keywords like Prince of Nigeria. Okay, no, that's junk.
Yeah.
We're going to send that over there.
No, it's essentially the one I got from the Secretary of State's office went into junk.
Yeah.
And that was where,
And
and I wasn't aware that was where, so I've spent like 3 weeks trying to find out, I'm waiting for this email.
And there's so many different reasons why it can end up in the junk, because all these detection systems are looking for keywords. They're looking at the subject. They're looking at links that are in the emails, and then they're going to those links and scanning those links to make sure those websites aren't compromised. There's lots of different security that's in email. Unfortunately, that's changing just as quick as the bad stuff's changing. So they're able to figure that out. But yeah, the detection of spam, phishing, it's getting better. That just means the attackers are going to change, which is why we talk about the social engineering, because that's just one other way for them to get your information. They're just going to call you and ask for it.
And see if they break
get
in the
people all the
Secretary of
time.
State's office, they can get a whole lot of
Yeah.
data.
Yeah, and that's and one of the there's sites out there. One of them I have listed here. You can put your email address in. It'll tell you every site that your email's been breached at. So it's a good resource to have, because you can put it in, and you'll see like, oh, so I used my email for that company. They got breached in 2018. And it'll even tell you what information they got that is public. So it'll say like they got phone numbers and last 4 credit cards. It'll tell you that right there. Which you can't do much with the last 4 of the credit cards, but if you social engineer through that and you call the social engineering is using that data just as much as we are to protect ourselves, because they're looking at it saying, okay, so Target got breached. They have customer names, email addresses, last 4 of credit card. Okay, well now I know that Brian Ray is a customer at Target. He used a credit card with the last 4. This is his email address. Okay, let's see if we can find his email address out there. Oh, look, his email address is here, it has his number, let me call Brian. Hey Brian, this is Target. We know we had the breach, if you give me this information, we can reopen your account. And it's like, okay, that's how they're trying to do stuff.
Must be nice to be smart.
There's smarter
they
people
can't.
than me out there.
Too
So
bad they can't
So
channel it in a better direction.
Hackers.
we're trying. There's lots of initiatives out there to knock a lot of this down, and it's
So when
slow,
you
but
when you get an email that says your computer is not protected,
it could
click
be.
here,
Yeah.
and it's like,
It's tough to say
okay,
if
is
it's
it
malicious or it's
really,
marketing. It could
Yeah.
be marketing too. It could just
I
be
think
an antivirus vendor saying like, hey, your computer might not be as protected as you want. We offer this application. I guess my point is anything you get in email, kind of be wary of it. Even if it's from somebody you know, if it's asking you to do something or go to something, question it.
well, I keep thinking, well, I don't even think I ever had that kind of
And you
protection.
may not have.
She was saying earlier that when you get an email and you unsubscribe, they know that there's somebody there.
Yep.
What would you
Some
do if
companies
you
do
have
that.
an email and you don't want it anymore?
Move it to your junk folder. Some emails, some email companies will allow you to block that sender.
Yeah, well,
you can put it in a block.
You
You'll just
have
never
it
see it again.
unsubscribed.
The unsubscribe is if it is a reputable company, an unsubscribe will work. If it's unsolicited marketing, if it's phishing,
It was the
Unsubs-
Trump campaign.
unsubscribe may add you to another list. It may. I don't know.
I haven't gotten any more. I
Yeah,
noticed
so
there was
that
some
one
in
they
my
probably
junk
did.
folder. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was some in my junk.
So it depends on the company because to the point that was earlier, right? Once you hit unsubscribe, it normally pulls you to a website that says put the email address in that you want to unsubscribe.
Yeah.
You put your email address in, and now they have your email address.
Right.
So now they know you're a real person. That's a real email address. Thank you for confirming. We're now going to sell it to 40 more companies.
Well, and I think the way that I ended up with that email coming almost daily, and I used to just delete.
Yeah.
And I said, well, if I unsubscribe to some of these, I won't have as many emails in there every day. And what it is I had gone into like Etsy or something
Yeah.
to see something, and I wanted more information, so I clicked on something, and it's like, then they have me.
That's why I created a second email.
Which is fine as long as you protect that one and you don't use it anywhere, and then it's good. But if you start using it for any online ordering or anything else, you risk being right back in the same boat.
It's not a good thing to have your credit card already on the computer, like, what some people are automatically pay.
Yeah, no,
Depends.
there's. Do I have my credit card saved in a system? Yes, but it's not saved in the browser. It's saved in a secure vault, essentially. You can get applications. There's applications out there that you can put passwords in, credit cards, other vital information. There's trying to think of the ones that he uses. It's like Bitwarden is one. There's a bunch of different password managers out there that you can store stuff in.
I'll give you my email address.
Storing your credentials, your authentication, your username, your password, or credit cards in your browser is a risk. You can do it, but there has been methods where these bad actors will be able to pull the store from your browser and then decrypt that and grab that information if they get the right software on your computer.
So
there,
even though it's not an automatic pay thing, where let's say every month I go in to Discover,
Yep.
I go in, put in my password, make my payment,
Yep.
and then I'm out of it.
you put your password in each time. You don't save your
Yes.
password.
No, I don't save my passwords.
Perfect. That's the best way to do it.
I save them in a little book that I have
So we'll get into
written
that
off
now
on
too,
the
right?
side.
So passwords are probably the most important thing with anything in cybersecurity. You have to have good passwords. So having a password that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 probably not the best password because it's probably the first thing they're going to try. So you have to have good passwords. Now that doesn't mean that passwords have to be super complicated that you can't remember. But what people are pushing now is more passphrases. They tend to be a little bit longer. But one thing to remember too is you can use spaces in a password. So you could put a sentence in there, or put your 4 favorite items separated by a space with a number at the end. Now those get longer, but one of the other links I have on there under resources is Hive.io, and they have a password hash table on their website that shows you how long it takes to break a password based on complexity and length. Some of those passwords, I want to say up to 12 characters now, can be broken pretty quickly. Like
How many passwords do you have?
mine's like 16.
How do you remember them all? Oh, you're young,
Mine,
that's right.
mine changes every 6 months too.
Oh, they
Yeah,
do?
some companies, that's good, when
Yeah.
they ask you to change it often.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Mine
get
changes
my
all the time.
military pay every 90 days. I've got it. So one lady said she put it in pencil.
Yeah.
If if you write it down, you fill up your password book
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah, there's definitely different methods on how to make secure passwords. Passphrases is what I'm recommending people use now. It just has to be a little bit longer, but it's more secure.
I'll put, don't call Matthew because he's just gonna tell you to Google it.
Yeah, so passphrases are good. And like I said, there's password managers out there. It sounds like most of your password managers are a nice little handy book by your side, which is fine until you forget it somewhere or leave it somewhere, and then everyone has all your passwords.
I was
Now,
so
most-
smart, I left it on my screen.
That works until in a home setting, not as bad. In a corporate setting, you probably don't want to put it there because then everybody has your password. But I'll let the home setting go for now.
It was 3 years ago.
As long as you trust everybody
It's
in your
gone.
house.
Do your online banking at home.
Yeah,
Well, it's
Don't be, you don't
interesting.
gotta do it other places.
Yeah, when there are scams, the first place they look at the relatives. That's
Yeah.
it is your family that does it.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, his son wiped out his credit.
The password
some
manager,
people
is
can't-
there one in particular that
What do
you
you
would
wanna call it?
suggest?
They don't, you can't trust.
I don't want
everything
to
that's
suggest
Sad.
just one. I mean, there's different ones out there. There's Bitwarden, Password 123, I think is another one. The only reason Bitwarden, off the top of my head, is somebody was just recently talking about it. But there's a lot of, if you look up password managers, there's several out there.
Okay.
How do they work? You know, I've got
Yep,
4 sheets
sure.
of passwords.
So, yeah, how a password manager works is basically it's a vault. So you'll create a master password to that vault, and then it will store all your You'll go in, you'll put your username, your password for all of your accounts, and it stores those encrypted. So you'll be able to access those wherever you log in, as long as you have that master password, which has a pretty it's got to be a tough password. It's going to be fairly long, but it'll
So do you
Provides
have like an
access to it.
icon for the password vault or something?
different ones act differently. Some are more like an application, some are an app on your phone.
So
It can be
what's
kind of
your
different.
favorite password manager?
Favorite one? I don't know if I have a favorite one yet. I've used a couple. Right now I'm on Bitwarden, which is partly why I'm remembering that one and not any of the other ones.
Bit?
But it's a lot of work to
BITE?
set that
Yeah,
up if you have a lot
BIT.
of passwords.
Warden.
BIT?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking BITWARDEN. I'm managing thousands of passwords. So, as good as my memory is, I tend to forget a couple. So,
Yeah, it would be nice to just have to remember one.
So, yeah. Yep, and that's what that allows you to do. It allows you to remember that one. And again, same thing there. You should change that one on a regular basis because it can, if somebody gets that one, gets your username, downloads the app, theoretically they shouldn't be able to get in, but it's possible.
Excuse me, do you pay for that?
There is pay services, but I think there's some free ones out there too. Bitwarden has a free version. I don't know what it gives you and doesn't give you with the free version. But yeah, the version I have is paid for, but it's a corporate one. So It's spread out through multiple.
You don't use that for your personal use as well then?
I do use it for my personal use as well. I use
Oh,
and
okay,
I don't know, I just haven't got into the difference
yeah,
between the two.
okay. I wanted to say to you, like, the thing about texting is you're getting a lot of, scam. And you can, when you delete them and block them, is that blocked forever from that site?
For
'Cause
texting,
Yeah. for
like,
text.
so you get a text message, some random,
Yeah, it's,
yep, SMS text. Yeah, if you block those, it depends on your carrier, depends on,
yeah,
because
people
you
are
can block
asking,
it
like,
forever.
friends are asking me, how do I block? And I'm like, well, I know how to do it on my phone, but we all have
Yeah.
different phones, so it all works
Yep.
differently, you know, and
yeah,
I
it
try and
depends on the carrier, because some carriers may block it for 90 days, some may block it for 180 days, some may block it indefinitely. It's hard to answer that one, not knowing the carriers or whatever
Oh,
else.
okay, so it differs from carrier to carrier.
It can, yeah, yep. Different, depends what you're using for a phone app, because people can download different phone apps, different messaging apps. Like, I don't use the default messenger app, so if I block something, it might block different than Verizon's messaging app. So there's a lot of different thresholds depending on which company.
If I have my passwords on a list,
Yeah.
and I want to have an account with this Bitwarden, can I just send them my list, or do I have to go in and set up an account and,
You would
It's
have
like
to set up an
every-
account.
and
You would
individual.
have to
oh God.
You would have to enter some of them in. However, there is a feature where they put a browser plugin, so you can use it in Firefox or Edge or Chrome, or whatever the other ones are for Apple. So it puts a plugin in, you log into that plugin. The next time you log into that site, it'll ask you if you want to save that password to the vault. So you say yes, it saves your vault. Now the
But
next
it
time,
doesn't say
So
to
you
your vault,
use
it
them.
just says, do you want to save your password?
that's the basic browser one. That one I wouldn't recommend using, because that's the one that can get compromised. This is if she was using the Bitwarden with the browser plugin. So
Oh.
Bitwarden has a browser plugin. So do many of the other ones. They have a browser plugin that you can use that'll help you store those items.
That makes more sense.
It's more secure than saving it with just the browser. Because yes, the browser. Anytime you log into a website, it'll say, "Do you want to save this password?" with a generic browser. That I
say
don't
no.
recommend,
No, I say no.
because it just stores it kind of in a cache there that people can then kind of steal. I won't get into how.
So when it says, do you want to save this, if it's just the ID, is that, is
Yeah,
that
the
harder to
username.
get into?
Saving the username isn't as bad as saving the username and the password, but
Okay,
it's
'cause I
still
don't think the
saving
pass-
some of your authentication data. So now they have 50% of your authentication methods, which will bring us into the next thing, which I don't know if any of you are using, but if you are, it's great. Multi-factor authentication. So multi-factor is very good to use. It basically takes something you know, which is your username or your username and your password. Something you have, which could be a PIN number or a smart card, or I use an authenticator app on my phone that rotates numbers through. So it'll ask for. So now when I log into certain sites, it'll ask for my username. It'll ask for my password, which those are things I know, and then it'll ask for my multi-factor, which is a number that scrolls through every 30 seconds on my phone to enter that in. So now, if somebody compromises your username and password, it doesn't matter unless they have that rotating number. They could enter that password all day, but if they don't have that rotating number, they're never going to get in. The third part of authentication with MFA could be something you are, your fingerprint, your Face ID, voice. There's different. That's a third aspect of that. But
Is that a 6-digit number that they
yes,
send
yep,
on
a
your
lot
email?
of times. So yes, you can get that 6-digit number. So I have an authenticator app. Sometimes it's sent as a text.
Yeah.
Sometimes they send it in an email. So that's multi-factor, and that's securing more accounts. That's a better security for accounts because you need that number. Without that number, you can't get into the account.
I hate it when I have to have my phone when my
I
phone is over there and
I
I'm
100% get it, but that security right there
Yes,
for your
yes.
banks, for your credit cards,
Yes.
for
Absolutely.
almost
Yeah.
any of your accounts,
Yeah.
that means you're the only one that can get into it because you're waiting for that phone.
Well, I'm on my computer doing the 60, and it comes in on my iPhone.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I have it, and I can, and I'm on the phone to a person telling me what to do.
Yeah. And then you have to figure out how not to lose
So
that
I
person.
need, I need a landline
Yeah.
as well as
There you
a cell phone line
Yeah.
at my house.
Yeah, the having the MFA, having that number, you'll see a lot more organizations are forcing that on you because
Yes,
it's
yes.
making their infrastructure as a whole more secure. Because if their passwords get compromised, okay, change your password, but you're still protected by multi-factor, so nobody can get into your account anyways. Which it sounds like most of you do, which is great. When it comes to your passwords too, you should be using different passwords for pretty much every account that you have.
It's hard to.
Oh, boy.
You should,
I haven't
because
changed mine in years.
if, IT guy, don't tell me that.
Yeah.
Because if your account at Target gets compromised and you use the same password at Best Buy, you probably use the same email too, right? So they're going to be able to take your username and password, go over to Best Buy, and if your credit card's saved to your Best Buy account, they might start buying stuff and sending it somewhere. So that's why passwords, multi-factor, all that is really, really important when it comes to cybersecurity. Because it keeps the bad guys out of the accounts, and the more we can do as users, it definitely helps the infrastructure for all these corporations, but it also protects everybody. Because like you said earlier about family compromise, like
Yeah.
if I get hacked, if they hack my email account or my Target account, they might be able to get to other accounts because now they have a way in. And then they can start poking around deeper. And then they can get credit cards, and then they can find another account that you're attached to. And then eventually they get to your work account or something like that, and you're using the same password to get into there, and then they start taking data or whatever else. It's a big ball of mess when you get into cybersecurity.
That's why my husband said that at his work he has to change his password. I think I don't know if it's every 3 or 4 weeks because the company he works for does government contract work.
Yep. Yeah, sounds about right. I think for some of our state stuff, it's on a 90-day password cycle, so we're changing our password every quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I worked for the county, they asked you to change it.
When I worked for UPS, we had to change it every month.
My military retirement pay comes, so I have to change that every 90 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the standard right now is 90 days.
But I didn't write it in pencil the first time. Okay, and now I've discovered that it's taking up more room in my book than it should.
Well, I
So
think you'll see down the
Can I
road.
put it in pencil? So far, that's worked.
I'm hoping as we go down the road, as technology gets better, you're gonna see the change password windows kind of get longer because now once we start getting multi-factor across every platform, the password's longer. Like if I make the password 16 characters and I have multi-factor, I don't need to change that. It's not gonna get cracked for
A long time.
4 years, 5 years. Plus I have the multi-factor ID that it's sending to me, so they would have to spend 4 years of time and guess what that 6-digit number is gonna be. I think we'll start to see those as people create better passwords, as we have multi-factor. I think that the IT world is gonna say, okay, yeah, we can stretch that 90 days to a year.
But the vault should help you with all of that, right?
The vault will, yes. And depending on the vault you go with, sometimes they have password generators, which will be able to generate a longer password for you, store it, and you're good.
Okay.
I'm finding a lot of times I can't use a 6-digit password
Nope.
anymore.
You cannot, that can
They
be
want
broken in
8
minutes.
and they want different characters and capitals. And
Even 8 is, I think you'll
Go-
start seeing 12 pretty quickly on most places,
Okay.
which is why you'll start seeing people go to multi-factor for most of their platforms because then maybe they set it to 10 and 180 days and multi-factor and then you're good.
I
Because again,
was
that
out of town, I
multi-factor
didn't have
piece.
my phone. I was really stuck.
Well, and that's where we're trending, right? Like, without your phone now, because it has your authenticator or it's getting your 6-digit, you gotta log in somewhere.
Pretend it's your
have-
baby and put it on your hip.
I've left my phone at home, and I'm probably gonna leave my phone here later because I took it out of my pocket. But
Yeah.
I had to drive home one day because I left my phone at work. I couldn't log in because I needed that PIN number off my phone, which was at home.
Oh, to log in to get into where your work
Yeah.
is? Oh.
Yeah.
When they send you that number,
Yep,
log
exactly.
in.
I went to go log in, and I'm like, oh, so you
so
log in.
carry your phone like a
Guess
baby.
I have a day. Guess I have a day off. Huh?
Yeah.
No days off.
Yeah.
No, but good story. I lost my, I was in the ladies' room at a museum in New Orleans. And I had to take a call, so I took out my iPhone. I left it there in the ladies' room. And I'm back at my hotel wanting to use my, and I said,
my
oh God, I left it on the counter. Okay, come, and all of a sudden I get a call. And someone at the museum had found my iPhone, called the last person that I had
Yeah.
called, okay, and then called the hotel, because that's where my friend told her I was. And luckily I was there by the phone and
Thank God it was an honest
I
person.
was gonna say, good
Yeah,
thing you had
really.
an honest person there.
You were lucky.
I did that at Walmart. Somebody left their phone in the carriage. They said, oh, do you want this carriage? And I took it and I didn't look and I'm going and I went, then I heard the phone ring and I went, that's not my phone. And I looked and it was somebody's phone in the car.
Yep.
And so I don't remember. I think I called or I might have answered it and it was the woman's grandson.
Who was
And-
probably in the car with her or something?
No,
Oh.
he was home.
Oh, jeez.
Or wherever. And I said, I just answered this phone. It was in the cart at Walmart. And then I brought it to the customer counter and I don't know, we did some other stuff, but she did end up getting it.
I think I'm gonna
But
get one of
it's-
those waterproof thing and put it on my neck.
I had an app that says, where's my phone?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I used it when I first got it. I forgot I even had it till you mentioned this. And so I tried it out and it said, it's in your hand, which it was.
Oh, wow.
But
Yeah.
isn't that amazing, huh?
But I think it has to be turned on, right?
What's that? The phone?
Like an iPad, you're looking for your iPad and you're on your phone, you say, where's
Yeah.
my iPad? I think the iPad has to be on,
Yeah, it
right?
has to be on, otherwise it's not
Yeah.
gonna get signal.
Just
I
like
mean,
the
power. It
Alexa
has to
stuff.
have battery. I guess I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
So even though it's off, I still might be able to find it.
Depends on the platform. Depends
I'm
on.
gonna
what-
get
Yeah.
it bigger.
Depends what level sleep mode or power off mode it's in. I mean,
Yeah. My son lost his phone. And so when he realized he didn't have it, he went home and he called the company and canceled the phone.
Mhm.
And he said, I've lost my phone. I can't get it. You know, can you tell me where it is or whatever? They said, no, that account's been canceled. So because he canceled it, so nobody
Yeah.
could use his
Yeah.
phone,
Oh, yeah.
he
Yeah,
couldn't
people
find
steal phones
it.
now.
So
I
I
had a
wasn't
coworker
even
that happened to her brother.
you gotta be careful how
But
quickly
he
you
had
cancel
dropped
things,
it,
but yeah.
you know.
I'm so glad I'm old.
You
We
said
never
bit,
used to be
is it
so
B-I-T
suspicious either, did we?
W-O-R-D,
No.
one word?
BITWARDEN.
Really?
Oh, it's A, okay.
Bit warden.
Like the warden at the jail.
Yeah, okay. And it's all one
Yeah.
word? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that again, that's just one of them. I don't
Yeah, I'm
want
gonna
you
go
to sound
check it
like I'm
out.
promoting it or anything. That's just the one that we chose.
Yeah.
You'd
I think
find
there's-
that on the password manager, right?
Password manager.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just looking now, it says free.
Yep.
Oh, right, it says
So this-
hackers, when I tried to go into it, it says hackers might be trying to steal your information. from-
Secure it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I covered pretty much everything I wanted to cover. You guys have asked questions throughout, but you can ask me some more questions while I'm here.
Yeah, what's your telephone number in case we need
You
it?
don't want that, I don't answer it.
Oh, you
I
don't?
don't
Okay.
answer any questions. He works for the Dow, but
What's that?
unfortunately, Brian can't take any patron
Oh.
questions because he works for the town.
You can come here and they can help you out. If they get really
She's
stuck,
really good.
They'll
Yeah.
call you.
Yeah.
they
She
get
doesn't
really
even
stuck,
yell
come in,
at
I
you
give
when
them
you
some
screw up.
guidance on what they can do in the future and go from there. But-
If you get either something in the mail or you get an email that says your account has been hacked and to call a number,
Don't do that.
I had that, it was from the financial service thing that I had. They had sent me a letter and I actually called my financial advisor to see if it was real, and they weren't sure, but then they called me back within 20 minutes and said, yeah, it is.
I got an
Yep.
email
But
saying
that's-
Susan got hacked.
I didn't do anything about it, so
So one of the things in that, good on you for calling the institution without calling the number, because that's what I would recommend. Don't call any number you get. Again, if it's unsolicited, be wary of it. You don't know. So if it's your local TD Bank or Citizens, like call them, go there, say like, hey, I got this. Is this legit? Now, post breach where your data's been stolen or whatever else, definitely look at what was taken. Change your passwords for that institution. Make sure you're not using that password anywhere else.
Your user ID is okay to keep the same though, right?
Well, a lot of times the user ID now is your email, so you're not going to be able to change that anyways.
Right.
So that's one thing you can't really change, but definitely change your passwords. And like we just talked about, that multi-factor, once you enable that, that helps secure the account tremendously.
okay. I do H&R Block, and they have this tax identity shield.
Yep.
And I gotten information for a long time, and lately I've been getting things. We found your email on the dark web.
Yes. Yep.
And so when I went to make my appointment the other day, I said, well, what does that mean? Do I need to contact somebody? Do I need to do something? They said, if you haven't had any other information other than that,
Right.
don't worry about it.
Pretty sure most of us in the room have their email on the dark web. It's just kind of, it means some account somewhere got compromised. They pulled it from a website, they pulled it from a company. Email. Now, if it says your email and password have been compromised, okay, that's a bigger issue. But like it's the website I put on there. Have I been pawned? That website, you go in, you put your email address in there, it will tell you where you've been breached. It'll tell you how you've been breached. So it's one more place. But your identity theft place is probably using a similar algorithm to find that stuff.
Can you repeat that, please?
It's here, I can show you. It's right on the form.
Oh,
It should be under
this is gold.
Yep, under resources, there's two websites. This
Oh,
top
yeah.
one here is the one that you can put your email in. And sorry about the font. I tried to fit a lot of information into a small piece of paper.
If I have two email, will the
Yep.
vault use my password for those two email, or do I have to create two passwords?
So you're not putting a password in at that site. You're just putting your email address in, and you can put as many email addresses. You can check your son's email address if you want to be like, hey, I found out that your email was hacked at this place. Would really confuse them.
If I teach my son anything about IT, man, I become the queen. He's an IT guy.
So
Your
yeah,
son
I
is?
mean,
So dark
One
web
of my brothers
doesn't
is-
really mean anything. It just means my.
It means something. It means your data at some point was compromised, but in our current society, having your email compromised isn't really surprising anymore. I mean, 10 years ago, like, oh my god, my email got compromised. It's like, okay, but now, which is why everyone gets more junk email, more spam email, more.
Well, I've
It's
had
just
the
out there.
Juno.
You've
I've had
used
the
it more.
Juno
you're
email
a
since
Juno email.
'94.
I was gonna say that one's
Wow.
been around for a while.
Yeah.
You know,
They seem to-
My mother-in-law's got an AOL one still, so.
It's like, oh yeah. Hi, can you completely delete an email address?
There's a process to it, but
You
yeah,
don't
you
wanna
could.
Is it pretty complicated to do?
I don't know if it's complicated. It just has some timing.
Depends who
It's
you
like-
are.
You probably have a process to go through, and there's probably some warnings, and then there's probably like a 14-day rest period, so you can
okay.
bring it back in case you change your mind. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
And we all have different emails that we like to look at. I'm a person that likes Gmail. My husband is the person that likes the Comcast emails to read them and to and look at them.
Yep.
We're all like it's a different
everyone
platform
gets,
of looking
they
at.
all the platforms have kind of a different layout. I mean, it's all
Yeah, right,
similar,
exactly.
but it all reacts differently.
Right, exactly.
I have
And I
to
guess-
promote Citizen because I got hacked, and the only way that I knew, Citizen called me, and they say, "Have you done this?" And I said, "No." And sure enough,
Somebody had your account.
yeah, but Citizen called me
Yep.
before I even knew.
Yeah,
Yeah.
American
Very good.
Express.
Yep, I've heard that.
They'll call me, I used to travel a lot, and they would call, make sure.
It
Yeah,
was
are you traveling right now? There's a
Yeah.
charge in this location or that.
Yeah, because you can call your credit card company ahead of time if you're going on a trip and you're going to be spending thousands of dollars
Yeah.
somewhere.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, when I bought propane from Irving, they charged me twice, because I don't know they sent me 2 bills. Okay, I paid one, and I had assumed it was the same as the other one, so
Yeah.
I signed off on it. And American Express went up and took care of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you said that identity theft. There's a bunch of different identity theft websites out there too, which will track some of that dark web stuff. They'll track your credit stuff. Like if someone tries to create
Yeah,
an account, I have some identity theft stuff because some of our data got compromised. So it's been great because you get a notification saying like, "Hey, did you just open a Verizon account?" No, I haven't.
Yeah.
So it'll stop it dead right there.
And you got to look at your bank accounts if you do your banking
Yeah,
online
I mean-
frequently
Yeah.
because
Every day.
we got
There's a lot of legwork to cybersecurity.
yeah
To protecting yourself,
Yeah.
to keeping your data safe.